Yeah, what's up, my friend? Let me roll a cigarette quickly. Hi, Hannah. You right? You right, mate? Yeah, I've got a friend coming to join me. He's creating his own cryptocurrency project, so we're gonna have a quick chat about it. You might find it boring as shit, but I would appreciate some support if you're bored. Oh, let's check you out with the roses. Cheers, darling. You don't have to. Really couldn't care less about gifts and stuff. It's not important. It's all about the crypto. But yeah, now this guy's like a minor YouTube celebrity. So we're gonna have a chat about his new token. Top guy, man. He's got what 7,000 followers on YouTube. He's been active for about 2 years. He does like 2 or 3 live streams a day. So yeah, he's pretty committed. Yeah, no worries, no worries. I appreciate that. Right, let me smoke. Oh, I better not do that on live, otherwise I get banned. Apparently, bloody stupid. Oh, cheers for the hammer, dude. But yeah, no, I've got a wicked guest, man. Got a wicked guest coming in. Once he's on, he's just gonna go get his phone charger and stuff because he needs to charge it up before he gets cracking. So, but once he's ready to go, we will get this shit underway. I've shared it about a little bit, so I'm hoping that a few people will be able to pop in. Yeah, cheers. I appreciate the likes, man. That's wicked. But yeah, stick around, man. This will be a good one. It won't be shaky all, the whole time. I'm going to sit down and put my phone down and just focus on the chat. But from what I've learned about his crypto project so far, I think it's quite exciting because not only does the token have its own merit and its own sort of whole system going on, but they're attaching a political statement to it as well. There's gonna be like a fundraising phase where you can donate to a particular charity. I don't want to spoil too much because I'm sure he'll tell us all about it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be really cool. All right, let me see if he's floating about. There he is.
Yo, dude, what's up, man?
Hey man, what's up?
Am I sideways?
Yeah, a little bit.
That's a problem.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think we can do this.
There we go.
Woo! We're good there.
So how is the Archbishop of Banterbury today?
Dude, it's good, man. We've been busy today, boy.
Yeah, I can see you've been a busy boy. You've got a lot going on,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, we got a good amount going on, man. I mean, whew, we announced our project, Texan
I saw
Token.
that.
You're familiar with that.
I am.
So it's been good, man. A net positive. We've got good feedback from the community at large, and we're trying to drive adoption to Pulse Chain. That's exactly what we're trying to do, man.
Yeah, but no, so what I've seen so far of the project, I quite like it. I think we should probably take some time to sort of explain what it is and what it's about. But before we do, what I want to do is I don't want to talk about any of the fundraising or any of that stuff. I want to just talk about the token to start with.
Cool.
So as I understand it, it's going to be fully liquid when it launches. So what I mean is, all of the tokens that will ever exist will exist on day one. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes. Now there are 100 trillion tokens that will ever exist. Out of that 100 trillion tokens, 97 trillion are going to be locked in a contract that has no keys. The keys are going to be burned as soon as this project launches.
So what's
So
that? Is that
97
97%?
Yep, 97% will be locked up, and you'll kind of get an idea of why that is here in just a second. 3% are going to be divvied out to donors. 3% are going to be divvied out to 3%. I'm sorry, 3% are going to be divvied out to donors. They're going to be divvied out to the team. They're going to be divvied out to partners. Okay. So the partner aspect is the Texas nationalist movement. We'll talk about that later on. The donor aspect, we actually have a donation period where you can donate directly to this nonprofit, and based on your
LNC.
donations there, you'll receive like a bonus. For every dollar that's donated, you'll receive 10,000 basically bonus points that may or may not turn into something later on. And then the other portion is going to be to our team. So 3 trillion of this is going to actually be circulating. 97 trillion is going to be locked up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the neat thing. On day one, or at least within the first couple days, depending on the launch, we've got 1 trillion from the team, and we've got 1 trillion from the partners that are going to be staked for 22 years.
So
right off the bat.
So they're all automatically staked for 22 years. So anyone who gets that allocation that is not part of the fundraising or the other metrics that you've involved for free claim will be automatically locked for 22 years.
No, only the partner and only the team, the people who are participating in it, who might just be people who market by, whatever the case may be, they will not auto stake. We are just basically putting away a massive amount of supply. 66% of the supply will be put away pretty much on day one.
Wow. Okay. That was something I wasn't aware of. That's quite interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting.
So, very interesting indeed. So this is probably going to be a natural progression of things. So the question is, if you have 97% of this supply that's locked up in a contract that nobody has the keys to, all right, so that's going to be step one. The next step is, what about that 3%? Well, we said that 66% of that 3%, which is 2 trillion, that's going to be staked for 22 years. That only leaves 1 trillion. Now, when you go to take your Texan token and you stake it, that contract that has that supply locked up, that 97%, that pays stakers. All right. Now, the interesting little thing here is when you go to stake, and let's say you want to stake your Texan token for 22 years, all of the potential token for that 22-year period is going to be calculated immediately. It's going to be taken, reserved for you, and burned out of the supply completely. All right. So that 97%, that huge credit and debit account, you can think about it kind of like a bank, decentralized, right? When you go to stake, all of your potential interest for that 22-year period is going to be taken out of that supply completely, and it's going to be reserved for you. So as long as you do what you say you're going to do, you're going to get that yield. Right.
So I'm a little bit confused how the yield works. So
Yep.
The yield comes from from essentially an OA wallet with no keys.
Correct.
So when you put your stake in, what happens on the contract side? Sorry.
Yep. So when you put your stake in, it's going to say, okay, you've staked for 22 years. It's going to calculate the exact amount of interest that you would receive if you held for that 22-year period. It's going to take all that out of supply, reserve it for you, but it's going to burn it. It's going to be burned out of supply, but it is reserved for you.
Yep. So how does it come to you if it's burned?
Yeah, when you go to call the contract for the end stake in 22 years, it will remint that supply and give it to you at that point.
Oh, it remints it. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. So that's how you maintain that deflationary system, is by having the burn that happens straight away, and then the mint happens later. But obviously you can't mint more than what was burnt at the start, right?
Well, that is true. And then the big thing that causes the deflationary aspect is something we haven't gone over, and that's this. For people who stake, but they don't commit to that full 22 years. So let's say it's 10 years and they decide to early end stake, right? There's a penalty there.
Yeah.
So that penalty is you lose 50% of your principal. Okay? 50% of your principal and the interest there. What happens to all of that? That's what gets burned forever. never to come back.
That's where the deflation comes in. So so it burns the token, but then you don't remint as many, so there's less in the OA.
Correct. So in between that process, in between that process, you know, you're staked for 22 years, but during that 22-year period, how many people in stake? Probably thousands or hundreds of thousands. All that supply that they have staked gets burned forever.
And that essentially increases the value of the remaining tokens, because you're taking the tokens out of supply for everybody. So rather than distributing those to everybody, you're increasing the ecosystem as a whole. Exactly. Rather than just the stakers. So the holders would benefit from it too, from the price appreciation. And it's not just the stakers that benefit from that. That's clever. It's a clever metric. I like that.
Yeah. So and here's the other part. The other part is this is the world's first endowment contract on the blockchain. So what's an endowment in the traditional sense in the financial world? Well, an endowment is kind of like a legal shell. Inside you actually have a perpetuity. What this means is an organization, a nonprofit, let's say they did this back in 1970 and they locked up $20 million back in 1970. What they're doing, they're receiving some type of return on that principal, and they're using that to fund their operations. Okay.
See.
So maybe they did that for 20 or 30 years.
So they're only ever going to sell the yields that they earn, not the original supply that they received.
Yeah, we've built in the ability to be able to scrape your yield.
Okay, that's interesting. I've got some questions in the comments which I want to get to at some point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So that's what's interesting here. You can actually scrape the yield off of this contract. All right. The base rate every single year that you receive for staking is 5%, but every single year that you stake longer, you get a multiplier.
Is it like a compounding
longer
system?
Pays better. It's not bigger.
Is it kind of compounding?
Just short of compounding.
Okay, just short of. Okay.
Yeah, just short of. All right. So we wanted to, make sure that there weren't issues in the future with compounding, right? But it's just short of compounding. So that's the really cool thing here, because a lot of people are used to like scraping ladders, which are awesome, or staking ladders. We have scraping ladders.
No worries.
So you can make 5 or 6 or 7 stakes based on price appreciation, based on the amount that you can scrape during certain years. You can actually kind of create a form of yield that is it's like a yield flow. It's like a cash flow.
It's a sustainable yield with no inflation. That's the clever part, is you've got a yield bearing token that's deflationary, which on the surface of it just makes no sense. But when you obviously, if you explain it to me now, it makes total sense.
Yep. And there's some mathematics involved here too that says, guys, listen, this is deflationary. So that means that eventually at some point in the future, there will be no more interest to pay out to new stakers.
Yes. Someone put that in the comments. So someone said, I think he's just about to disappear. So I do want to get to this question quick. He said, so how are you going to create the liquidity to cover the investment on an APY basis? I think you kind of covered that. He says, but does that decrease the longevity of the project by obviously having the OA sort of drip feeding and sort of burning as it goes?
That's a good question. I would say this: it's based off a scarcity model. All right, so we're kind of looking at how Bitcoin functions in a way. Right. So every 4 years, every 240,000 blocks or so, you have a halvening event where it becomes doubly as hard to be able to crack the code, to get the block, to get the reward. So that creates a sense of scarcity. Eventually, all Bitcoin will be released in the ecosystem, and there will be no more Bitcoin. Until they get to that point, what you're seeing a model that is increasingly more scarce and more scarce.
What's up, Tate?
Not only from a coin standpoint, but also it takes a lot of money to invest in the hardware to do all these things. So a lot of money goes into this every time it happens, so they can have the computing power to get this done. So that in and of itself is a scarcity model, because not everybody can participate in that as well.
Yeah,
so
as time goes on, it gets more and more difficult to participate in that Bitcoin mining system, because the demand for the hardware increases, and obviously the price of those underlying devices increases as well over time because of the increase in the power demand.
Exactly. So with ours, this is a finite supply that is actually deflationary. So when you get your Texan tokens, you are going to want to stake it to go grab your piece of gold out of the gold mine because it's not
Hmm.
going to be there forever.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this too, though. I will say, we've modeled this to last at least 50 to 100 years based on averages. Am I naive to think that this is just going to take off and crush everything? No, I'm not naive to think that. But it sure would be nice to have this outperform some of the modeling that we did. But I'm
Mm.
here to tell you that if you got a 22-year stake and 15 or 16 years in, you have a little portion of there and it ends and you decide to restake that, well, all of a sudden you're out in that 40 to 50-year range, maybe for your kids or your grandkids. So it sneaks up on you. And you and I both know that cryptocurrency and DeFi are going nowhere anytime soon. I think it'll be here to stay. So that type of model, deflationary, it's kind of like a pump a middle. Go get your stuff. Yeah, you want to stake it. You want to get that yield before there is no yield or not as much.
Yeah, yeah, I see. I mean, is there any benefit from staking earlier in the life cycle of this token than later, should we say? Because obviously you stake for maybe the same period of time, say 10 years, for example. Is there a big difference between me staking on day one or staking on 365 days later?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the biggest thing in here is, the amount of token that you get per dollar that you spend is going to be markedly increased in the beginning, which also means you're going to get a larger chunk of that locked supply. So the advantage is to stretch your dollar or your pound or whatever wherever you're at as far as it will go initially to get as big a piece of that pie as possible.
Hmm.
So yes, there is a definitely an initiative to want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I like this project so far. I want to ask a couple of questions about some of the free claim stuff. So you said you're going to do a free airdrop to people that have participated in the sacrifices for Pulse Chain, Pulse X, and there was another one? Was it Liquid Loans? Or,
No, Pulse Chain, PulseX, and the Hex staking class.
Asset this hex staking class. So
Yeah.
as I understand it, let's say I am a hex staker. I've also sacrificed for PulseX and Pulse, but I will only get an allocation for one. I won't get like a multiplier for being active on all three of those things. Is that right?
No, it's yeah, correct. So if you have one wallet address that participated in all three, you're only going to get one. Now, obviously, we can't weed out everybody else that has multiple wallets from the same person. So those multiple wallets,
Of
as long as
course.
they're different, they do receive
Hi,
that.
Becca.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I had a question in mind, and it's just popped out of my head. It will come back to me.
Yeah, no problem. So the Texan Texan.cc is our website. We've announced that the donation phase is going to start on July 18th. So that's next Monday.
Hmm.
So that's going to be exciting. It's going to go for about 60 days. We're going to have something called a bonding wave instead of
Yeah,
a
I heard you
bonding
talking about
curve.
that. Yeah, I heard you talking about that. The
Yeah,
bonding
so
wave. So the idea
it's
is
going
that
to be
it's gonna sort of come down, and then it's gonna come up a little bit at the end for those people
yeah.
that were late to the party but can still get a decent deal.
Exactly. We want that to curve up because we understand that there's going to be a learning curve for a lot of these folks. And this plays into probably the next portion we should go into, which is we are partnering with nonprofits, okay?
Hmm.
Nonprofits are very advantageous because let's face it, new blood into any ecosystem, any layer one, that's kind of like the holy grail of crypto. So what we want to do is we want to partner with existing nonprofits and tokenize their entire community.
So is this
And
the
we have
first?
a non
Is this the first project for something that's kind of close to your heart? Something that you've got a strong belief in, with the idea of rolling this model out to other kinds of charity drives, maybe.
Yes, yeah. To kind of tease a little bit, after this one, we already have our next project lined up,
Oh,
and
amazing.
this project has 435,000 members, registered members into this nonprofit.
Okay.
And the goal in the partnership is to help onboard people to crypto and Pulse Chain in that way. The next the next group that we're going to be working with, I would say that it has significantly more than 435,000 members.
I
And
see.
this is not these types of things we don't talk about unless it's going to happen, unless we're sure that it's going
Sure,
to
sure, sure,
happen.
sure. You don't want to
So we
announce
won't
anything
talk
that's a
about it.
maybe. Yeah, it
Right.
makes total sense.
But the neat thing about what we have in front of us is we got 435,000 members that are not very privy to cryptocurrency. And I'm not stupid to think we're going to get 435,000 members off the jump.
Of
But
course.
even if we got 10% of that, we got 40,000 or 50,000 wallets. That's going to be huge. It's going to be real huge.
And
So
I think there will also be people that want to get involved with this project to get some early tokens that don't necessarily have a strong belief in the underlying narrative of the token because they just want
yeah,
exposure to the token early doors.
and that's fine. That's the cool thing about this. You can participate in donating directly to this organization,
And
but if
that's the only
not,
way to get an early allocation apart from those free claims, right?
yes, early allocation. Yes, that is correct. All right, and but if it follows suit with most cryptocurrencies, you typically see a dump for 60 to 90 days. People get their
Get
stuff
their
and they
fill.
just want to
Yeah.
get out, and that's fine. You can market buy. It's an immutable contract. It has no admin keys. It can't be changed. Okay, so you can market buy this thing when it launches, and then it can just be another, maybe another notch in your belt there that you want to put in your portfolio.
Yeah, yeah, sure. One of my friends has jumped in the chat. Ace Crypto. I've been watching some of his lives recently. His content's really good. He's quite sort of focused on sort of getting an idea, sort of snapshots of the different projects. So people will put a project in the chat box and he'll do a little bit of research and come up to a very
Yeah.
quick, a quick conclusion as to what they look like. He's listened in probably for maybe the second half of the live here. So he missed out on some of the things that I think would really tweak his nerd itch. So we were talking early on about the yield element of this, whilst also being deflationary. Just for his sake, could we just go through that a little bit, just so he can get a feel for how that's going to work?
Yeah, absolutely. So on day one, we're going to launch with 100 trillion tokens. 97% of those tokens, they're going to
Hi,
be
gents.
locked into an account, and the keys are going to be thrown away. So this account's going to kind of act like a giant credit and debit account. All right, and this account is going to be what pays yield to people. So what does that actually mean? So 3% is going to be circulating. Of this 3%, if you take your Texan token and you stake it, when it interacts with the contract, it takes a look at that 97% supply, and the contract says, okay, you're going to stake for 15 years. We're going to take your principal and all your potential interest for that 15-year period, which we can calculate. We're going to grab that, we're going to burn it, but it's reserved for you. 15 years later, when you come back and you decide that you want to go ahead and end your stake and claim that, the contract will say, okay, this was reserved for him or her back then. Let's go ahead and grab that. Let's go ahead and mint it and put it in this person's wallet. That's how that functions. Now, let's say that out of that 15 years, you're 7 or 8 years in, and you want to scrape a portion of the yield that you have earned. Okay, you will be able to go in. We built in a function that allows you to scrape your yield without having to sell your principal for penalty. So that's pretty interesting. Maybe
That
you
I
want to
didn't
go ahead and
understand that. That's really cool.
yeah,
That's really cool because
yeah,
that's one of the issues with something like Hex, for example, where you're locked in for the complete time period and you're penalised if you want to end early. By having that scraping option allows people to realise that yield without having to sit the full way through. And also,
sure,
is
yeah.
there any end stake penalty for doing that? Is there any penalty for scraping there at all?
No penalty at all. Now, the only
Awesome,
thing that happens, it's
awesome.
very important to know. So let's say you scrape and you scrape all of your yield up until that point for that 7-year period. The total accumulated goes in your wallet. Your principal stays the same. The contract then will say, okay, he scraped it 7 years, right? And let's say there's 13 years left in his stake. It will recalculate how much interest you'll get, and it burns that out of supply, and it redoes the whole process.
Right, I see. So it mints the full amount, gives you what you need and then basically burns the rest.
Yeah,
Is
the
that?
time
Yeah.
served. Yeah.
Yeah. The time
So let's
serves.
just use
Okay.
10 years and 5 years. Yeah. So 5 years in, your total amount of interest that you accumulated at that point, it's going to go ahead and mint that back, mint that interest and give it to you. And then it's going to recalculate how much time you have back, how much interest that'll be, and it burns it
And it
out and
reburns
reserves
that
it for you.
again on the yeah, and then it's on that system that it will mint that at the end of the stake.
Yeah.
Mate, there's some real clever metrics going on here, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like I say, Ace Crypto, my guy here, he loves this sort of stuff. And I think
Yeah.
this sort of project would be right up his street. I think it would be right up his
Yeah,
street.
it's exciting. It combines a lot of features, and this isn't taking away from Hex. I tell
Proven
people that Hex is
features.
a rolls. Say what?
Proven features that work.
Yeah.
You just have to look at the price appreciation of something like Hex that has that kind of model. But I kind of feel like you're doing a similar to Hex model, but you're doing it in a much better way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wouldn't definitely. I've thought about this a long time. There are some. I think that probably one of the biggest strengths of Hex is the fact that it forces you to really strongly delay your gratification.
Yeah.
Right, because it doesn't offer that scraping function. So the interesting thing is it's gonna be to see if the market takes better to Hex in terms of price appreciation or this. And I don't see us as a competitor. I see Hex as a very complex system that did exactly what it was supposed to do, which was it made people a lot of money. Our project is more along the lines of we're trying to be more simple because we're trying to onboard 435,000 people
Yeah, you're trying to
that
onboard a
haven't
whole
been in
bunch of no
crypto before.
coiners. You're trying to onboard some no coiners
Yeah,
into this thing.
yeah. We wanted to make a simple contract with one or two buttons to perform one or two functions, and just make it as easy as possible. And I think that that's what this is.
Hmm.
Hex is a much more polished product,
Of course.
but everything that we need this to do, we're going to use it to do very well.
I like it.
Yeah,
I think
man.
it's great. I think it's great. What sort of initial liquidity is gonna be available?
Yeah. So here's what we know in terms of price appreciation. The things that actually make the price go up have nothing to do with market cap whatsoever. The thing that actually makes price go up violently or price go up or down violently
Post chain, yeah.
is is the liquidity, okay, and the trading pairs and things of that nature. So there's a couple different things that you can do. You can provide thin liquidity, or you can provide a lot of liquidity split over different pairs that you might expect to appreciate very violently up to the upside, or pairs that you might not expect, and maybe it's a stable coin, and you just want, you don't want the massive ups and downs. So, in terms of how much is going to be provided, I will just say that I have learned a tremendous amount from watching a lot of projects, seeing what thick liquidity does and thin liquidity does. And I would say that I would err on the side of thin liquidity,
I agree. I
but I
agree.
won't say the amount.
Yeah, I think thin liquidity it works because it doesn't require as much buying pressure to bring the price up, but equally on the negative side, it doesn't require as much selling pressure to bring the price down. But obviously, I think
Exactly.
also liquidity will grow naturally over time as well, as people look to add their own liquidity pairs into pools to earn the fees and this sort of stuff as well. So the
Yeah,
liquidity will
and
grow
I
over
think
time naturally.
yeah, and the neat thing is our community understands that. So the liquidity providers, after this thing launches, I think they'll get that too. They'll understand that too. And you hit the nail on the head. If you have a million units on one side and a million units on the other, and somebody sells 10 units, it's not going to really affect price that much on either side. But if you have 100 units on one side and 100 units on the other, and somebody sells 10 units,
Hmm.
that's a 10% either way. And that
Hmm.
affects things much more violently, even though you're selling the same amount. So
Yes,
it
yes.
just makes complete sense. Yeah, it makes complete sense to do it that way. And the other thing that we've learned too is using, and this is not my thoughts. This is definitely Richard's, and we've seen this using market cap as a marketing tool with high supplies is very important. So
But
the
obviously,
interesting thing
you're
will,
launching, like I said before, fully liquid. You're fully diluted. Sorry, should I say? So you're launching fully diluted. So that market cap, on the face of it would look quite good because you've got that OA wallet that's kind of holding the price up as well, right?
Yeah, it's price. Market cap is equal to the circulating supply times price.
Mm-hmm.
So you can adjust a couple different variables here, right? So you can increase the price somehow. Maybe we do that. Maybe you do that with liquidity or whoever wants to do that. But also, if you have a screaming high supply, you can have one unit that sells for $1 trillion. Now you have $1 trillion market cap, which is clown.
Yeah.
But that's just how that goes. So the question becomes, before the big exchanges come and clamp down on this, if we have we have a supply that high, maybe we have 100 trillion, and they don't adjust it, and then all of a sudden we're showing up number one everywhere before they adjust it back down.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really good marketing tool. So
Yeah,
market cap is a joke, but it's a marketing tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Market cap isn't everything. I think some people look at market cap as the be all and end all, but I think there is a lot more. There is a lot more to that market cap number than just that face value number.
Well, I'll tell you this. When I saw nomics.com decrease Hex's circulating supply by 75%, but the price stayed exactly the same, at that point in time, I knew market cap meant nothing.
Yeah.
It's the demand for the token that determines this. It's the demand. It's how much person A is willing to buy it over person B. And that's just the bottom line. And Richard taught us all about that. So that's so true.
Yeah, so I have to greet my guys as they come through. I don't want to be rude and not acknowledge.
Oh no, you're fine. Absolutely.
I don't want to interrupt your flow though, man.
No flow at all. It's just it's crypto is so much different. Our understanding of crypto is so much different than that of the world, man. It's and we're so far ahead of the curve if you're in this community, and I thank God that I found Richard because he taught me crypto the right way. He really did, and I'm happy to be able to take that knowledge that he's given me and try to really onboard hundreds of thousands or millions of people to Pulse Chain and really try to tackle that problem. And that's what we're doing by partnering with these nonprofits.
Yeah. One thing we haven't really covered actually is the charity drive.
Yeah. So it's going to be pretty simple. 100% of all funds that is donated to the Texas Nationalist Movement, you can go to texitnow.org, and we'll have some links up for the donation. 100% of those funds are going to go to them, and they are going to provide a list of people who've donated, and we'll provide basically an Excel spreadsheet, and we're going to airdrop these no value tokens to folks based on how much that is with the bonding wave that we talked about. So that's kind of what that's going to look like.
So I understand that within your community, the Rags to Riches community, and also Crypto Heartbeat, there's a way for the community members to get a free claim as well.
Yes. So now I think this is only open to Compassion Cartel, which is Crypto Heartbeat's group at this point.
Okay.
I've closed down mine, but you can go join Compassion Cartel and just stand by. You might get some good news.
Okay, cool. Well, I filled out a Google form, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And I'm also a Pulse sacrificer, a Pulse X sacrificer, and also a Hex staker. So
nice, dude.
Yeah, I've got two wallets that have Pulse X sacrifices. I've got I've got my main wallet. It's got all three, and I've got maybe a couple of other wallets that have got one, maybe two of the others, maybe possibly. So
sure.
So yeah, I love free stuff, man. I love free stuff.
Well, I'll say this: if you're out there listening to this, there might be a little bit of incentive to go ahead and make some hex stakes. Hint, hint, hint. So on different wallets, by the way, maybe different wallets. So that's a little alpha there.
All right, sweet. I appreciate that. I think I've got two wallets. I think I've got two wallets with stakes currently, but I have got another wallet with some liquid, which I will maybe stake possibly, but I don't want to overexpose myself. I'm going to wait for one of my stakes to end before I restake on the other wallet, so that I've got liquid hex to be able to sell if I need to, for example. But that's how I'm kind of playing that at the moment.
Cool, and I'll add this too. You can actually donate fiat to this as well, and we've decided to do USDC
Good call. I think it's the
only.
best stable coin. I think it's the best
Yeah,
stable coin, in my opinion.
we didn't want to remove hex supply from hexkins because we know that that's going to be very, very valuable at the top of the next bull market.
Sure.
And for it to be sitting in a wallet that one of our partners holds, I just kind of feel weird about that. So we've just decided to do fiat and USDC and make sure everybody can keep their hex there.
Yeah, I think that's probably the play. I think you're right, because I mean, obviously, one of the issues that Richard Hart and the team had with the sacrifice period was obviously there was a period where all of the sacrifice amounts were sold, I think into stable coins, I think. But the hex remained liquid. It remained hex.
Yeah.
Because obviously the problem is he doesn't want to detriment his own marketplace by selling into the market, because
Exactly.
it's counterintuitive. If you're part of if you're a founder of a project, you want to see it do well. Especially a guy like Richard Hart, who is ultimately egotistical. He has to see it do well. If it's not doing well, it makes him upset. It makes him sad that his project, his baby, is underperforming. So he's not going to hurt himself. He's not going to shoot himself in the foot by selling his hex on the market.
Yeah, and we didn't want to come across like it was a money grab on our end either. So that's why we made that decision. Now it's about 99%, but we definitely aren't going to be accepting hex.
Yeah.
We might add one or two others, maybe like an Ethereum or Bitcoin, but for the time
maybe
being,
DAI, because DAI is a stable coin, algorithmic stable coin. Obviously, it's pegged, so obviously it will consistently keep the same value when it's passed over to you guys in the form of that donation. And again, it doesn't affect any marketplaces when you do sell those to obviously support the cause.
Yeah, and 100% of that donation goes. You're donating straight to the nonprofit. It is not tax deductible for people in the States, but it is going straight to them, not us.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like this project, and I could see how this model could work quite well for other organisations as well. But I like it. I'm trying to pick holes in it, and I have been trying to pick holes in it. I don't know if you noticed.
No, we want that. That's what we want.
Yeah, you said the other day on your live stream, you were like, look, I want someone to pick holes in it, because you might see something that we've overlooked or something that we didn't really think about. But obviously, having that critical mindset, might help you to ensure that it is purely polished when it does arrive on Pulse Chain, when eventually Pulse Chain does arrive.
And that's the cool thing. We already have an independent audit with CertiK, which is the leader in the crypto industry. CertiK is in terms of audits. So it has been audited. I think it's like maybe a 20 or 30 page audit. You can see it on the front page of our website. Excellent. The neat thing about that is too, if you're like a little nerdy and you like to get into stuff, you get to go in and see some of the stuff that they found that we needed to fix and tweak and this and that. So it just kind of pulls back the curtains a little bit, gives you a little bit of a different perspective.
So the audit did pick out some things that needed to be looked at.
Yeah. There were some minor issues here and there, just some naming conventions, things that we just needed to look out for.
Just coding stuff, like.
Yeah. So we worked with them for probably about 5 or 6 weeks to get everything fixed before they gave us the final okay.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, the thing is, from an investor's perspective as well, having an audit like that is quite important to some people. Not necessarily to myself, but for some people, it is one of the number one factors. And the fact that you have that, I think, will definitely put you in good stead going forward when people are looking at some of these new tokens that arrive on Pulse Chain. And there are going to be a lot of scams. There are going to be a lot of scams that release on Pulse Chain. Unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast. You look at BSC. BSC is kind of now labelled as the scam chain because of the number of scams that appear there. And it will be the same with Pulse Chain. It will be the same with Pulse Chain or any other chain that comes after.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you probably heard me say this all the time, but we've got a really good immune system within the community here. We've got a good sense of good crypto and bad crypto based on how Richard has kind of taught us here. Mm-hmm. And I'll take my chances on Pulse Chain with the community. We'll weed out the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what this whole process is about, man. It's getting in front of everybody in the middle of town square, and it's saying, guys, beat me up here, find out what's wrong, let's talk about it, let's make this thing right. If it is wrong, let's make it work, let's figure it out. That's what we're
So
doing.
I'm really not a massive Richard Hart fan. In all fairness,
Mm-hmm.
I now what it is I don't necessarily like a lot of his personality traits, as it were.
Sure.
But you can't deny the genius of the things that he creates. I looked at Hex early doors. I didn't have any Bitcoin in a wallet that wasn't an exchange at the time, so I didn't get the free claim, which is a shame. But I did draw out a short list of tokens that interested me. One of them was Ample Fourth, which I was talking about to my friend who's in the chat. He knows all about my Ample Fourth experience. It was pretty cool. And Hex was on that list. And then what I did was I did some searches, and I saw the word scam. I was like, okay, well, I'll put that one on the back burner without actually looking into
Sure.
it. Now, it was months later that I then revisited it. And started looking at it again, and I was like, okay, I want to actually look at the project and understand what this Hex is and how it works. Once I understood the T-shares, I was like, okay, that's it. I get it now. I now understand how this works, because on the face of it, you've got this inflationary token that only increases in value if people buy it. And it's also inflationary. So you're like, well, where's the growth gonna come from? But then when you understand the scarcity of the T shares, that's when you have that aha moment. And it's like, yeah, now I can see where the value is. The value isn't in Hex, it's in the T shares. That's where the value is. The value is the T shares. That is the value in the ecosystem. And once I understood that, I was like, okay, yeah, I can start moving on Hex now, because I now actually
Yeah,
understand
man.
how it works.
Yeah, that's the that's the tipping point for most people. They say, okay, well, you know, Hex kind of uses the Bitcoin, the proof of work method on Bitcoin. On Bitcoin, you have folks that are paid to secure the network. With Hex, you have paid people who are paid to kind of secure price and keep price
Yeah.
propped up. And then you have, the Ethereum side. You have, Hex uses Ethereum for the security side of things as well. So we actually have the ability to be able to pay folks in terms of T-shares, simulated compound interest, to essentially keep price up. And that's the whole CD concept here on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
It's just absolutely brilliant. Now, I will say this, man, not everybody agrees with how Richard Hart operates,
Sure.
and you don't have to.
He's divisive.
And I've said this many times. I said, man, I would never feel comfortable talking like Richard does. Okay, but
Yeah.
that's me.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I don't feel right doing it. I wouldn't do that. But this is not my project. This is how he understands to cut through the noise, and this is a method to do that. And it does get people talking. I don't
Outrage
have to agree
marketing.
with it or like it.
Outrage
Say
marketing, it
what?
works. Outrage marketing,
Yeah.
you might not like it, but it works because it gets eyeballs,
Yeah.
and eyeballs turn into interest, and interest turns into buyers, basically.
Yeah. And if you never heard of Richard, and he wrote a book on the proper way to do DeFi, and you never heard of the guy before, you'd finish that book and your mind would be blown.
Yeah.
Actually, you'd finish that book and you wouldn't believe half the stuff that you read until you looked into it yourself. But that's the power that he brings. He has re-educated so many people
Hmm.
about how crypto works, and I love that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say that I've taken from Richard Hart actually is this mentality. So many people have this short term game mentality. People they want to get rich quick. They buy
Hmm.
Bitcoin because they think that they're going to get rich quick. Now, what
Sure.
I've realised is crypto isn't a get rich quick scheme; it's a get rich for sure scheme, or not even scheme. But that's how I see it. Is I've changed this mentality from I've stopped thinking about what the price of Bitcoin is today. Like I had a notification to say that Bitcoin went down 6% while we've been chatting here,
Hmm.
and the price action today doesn't bother me because my thought process is now so much further into the future. My thought process is now, okay, what's Bitcoin going to look like in 5, 10, 15 years time? Am I going to be sitting there in 10 years time looking back at the price on the 12th of July of 2022? Well, I'm not going to be looking at that because it's irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant because we are now further down the line, and whatever happens now is irrelevant, but what really matters is what happens then. We're in that 5-10 year time period that I've kind of set myself.
Yeah, man. And man, this is the best time to be in this market right now. And I just wish I could stand on the hilltops and scream and have the whole world listen. And even all these people, like, can you imagine some of these folks in Sri Lanka where their government's completely dissolved at this point and they don't have any fuel and they don't have any food and they have a little bit of savings? If they were even able to take a little bit of these savings and put it into Pulse Chain or PulseX or Hex or whatever the case may be, it could fundamentally change their life. You know, the dollar stretches really, really far in certain parts of the world. I saw
Yeah, sure.
saw a statistic about the Philippines, and like in the United States of America, if you're in the top 0.01% of income earners, how much do you have per year? What's your net worth? What do you think?
I would have no idea where to start, to be fair. I wouldn't even know
20,
where.
20 million.
Wow.
All right. So 20 million US dollars puts you in the top 0.01%. What puts you in the top 0.01% in the Philippines? Any ideas?
Probably significantly less.
200,000.
Okay.
That's at $200,000 net worth in the Philippines.
Is that
the
just because,
equivalent of
like you
20
say, the
million in
dollar
the
goes so
States.
much further there?
Goes so much further over there, man. So imagine this. Imagine that you go to one of these third world countries and you find this community and you tokenize this community, and then you release this into the world. And these folks from Europe are putting money into this, and these folks from the States are putting money into this, and these folks from Saudi Arabia, and these folks from Australia, and all of a sudden, these people put a little bit of money, but all these other people put a whole lot of money. You could change people's lives for 1,000 years in some of these countries with how far the dollar stretches. So once people understand that about crypto, the ability to actually have this thing grow and actually unlock wealth and unlock freedom in communities, once people get that, then they're good to go. They
Yeah.
understand the power of this thing.
I got you, Becca. I got you covered.
All right. So yeah, man. Lots to discuss here, man. Lots of exciting times here. And I appreciate the fact that you're grinding in a bear market here, man.
Always. I'm grinding always. I'm still sticking to my DCA plan. It's still coming together. I've still got some stuff on the side yet to inject. Waiting for much lower prices.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is the time to do it. Everything's fire sale, 90 to 100% off. This is
Exactly.
where millionaires are born, in bear markets, brother.
This is what I'm trying to tell some of my friends, that they were approaching me when Bitcoin was at, like, I don't know, 55k, and they're like, oh, I'm really interested in buying Bitcoin. And I kind of said, like, well, actually, really, you're probably better off waiting. And they're like, oh, but I want to go now. Don't go now. If you want to go now, just put in a little bit now, and then maybe sort of filter in month by month. But I could see the market maybe turning around. And it subsequently did, not too long after. And obviously now I'm now contacting them saying, oh, you wanted to buy before. It's probably now a good time to start, injecting a little bit more. Don't go all in, but start, filtering in larger amounts at these lower prices while everything's on discount.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Gosh, now's the time to do it. There are a lot of stupid people in crypto, brother.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
All these people that claim to just be experts, who bought billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of crypto at the top of the markets that are now wrecked. Voyager wrecked, Celsius wrecked, Three Arrows Capital, their founders are on the run, wrecked.
Yeah, I saw the news article on that earlier. That's pretty concerning. They've run away with a lot of debts.
Dude, it's bad. And can you imagine if these guys actually looked at a chart and didn't get greedy and said, you know what? We'll get a loan for $1 billion at the bottom of the next bear market. And what happens after that? They take that billion and they spread it across DeFi, and they're going to 100x or 1,000x their billion, man. It's like, why can't people do this the right way?
Yeah, I'm just a big proponent of DCA. That's just my way of doing it, because I've made mistakes. I bought the 20k top, or I bought about 19k, but something like that. I bought the 20k top, and then I regretted it for about 3 years. and then I bought some more, just over 3, I think about 4k. I bought some more and averaged out my position quite a lot.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. We're not prophets. We can't see the future. We don't always know what's going to happen here.
Hmm.
So that's why we DCA. We remove that variable from our consciousness completely.
Hmm. And I have this system for DCAing out of the market as well when things do start to appreciate, and that seems to do quite well for me because what it's allowed me to do is allowed me to buy back in at these lower prices.
Yeah, if you go to lookintobitcoin.com and you look at Bitcoin wallets of 1,000 Bitcoin or greater, you can actually see when these whales are exiting their positions. They don't exit their positions at the top of the market. They
No,
start exiting once the market starts going up.
yeah,
So it's 5% every double or 5% every 50% it goes up. And by the time the crash happens, they're completely out of their positions. So it just
yeah,
works very, very well that way.
yeah. My chat's going mental here. They're having a right laugh in here. No, half the guys in here aren't crypto heads. They're just my TikTok buddies, and yeah,
Oh, okay.
they're having a right in the chat.
They like my accent. Is that what it is, man?
Well, they're saying you're an amazing guest, so there is that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, man, lots to go over here. Lots of cool stuff. This bear market, for those in his chat right now, guys, right now is the time. Listen to this guy right here. Listen to him. He's going to help you out a lot. Because if you don't, you're going to be begging him for money here in the next couple of years. He's going to be laughing at you.
I won't be laughing. I'll probably be sharing the love. To be fair, I've got a question. I've got a
Yeah.
question here. What's the most Brandon has ever made from the smallest deposit? I don't think it'll be as good as mine, but we'll see. That's not
I
nice.
put oh man, that's a difficult question. I put $400 in a Doge and I think I made about from the smallest deposit, $400 in Doge, and I made about 109,000.
That's pretty decent. That's a really good return. Really good return.
Yeah,
Uh,
I forgot about the wallet and I got lucky.
so my story is I mentioned it earlier. I bought $10 worth of Ampleforth. Now,
Mhm.
Ampleforth, I don't know if you know much about it, but it's basically an algorithmic stablecoin. And what it
Yeah.
does is it rebases. So when it goes up to like a dollar ten, it will rebase back down to a dollar, and it will redistribute tokens for the difference.
Yep.
And it does the same when it goes the other way. It goes to like $90, and it will do it the other way. Now, each one of those rebase moments was taken into consideration when they decentralized their decision making. So they released a governance token. And how they based the distribution of the governance token was the people that had participated in it was points based on the number of the rebase moments you participated in that you had a balance in your wallet. And well, where I'd bought it quite early doors, and I just left it there just because I bought it just because I know that I wanted to see what would happen with it. And if you own some, you're more likely to stay on top of it.
Sure.
Sticky Vicky's my friend, by the way, the one that you blocked.
I actually can't even see your chat.
No, you can't. No, I can't see yours either. I don't know if you've got anything that's worth mentioning over on your side.
Not much. We got some hex people here on my side.
Yes, Jack. Welcome, Brady. Welcome. You're a bit late, mate. You're a bit late. Yeah, no, Sticky Vicky's one of my friends. The one you just blocked there. I'll unblock him later. I'll unblock it. You can tell me how to do that. I have no idea how to. It's actually a
Wait,
him.
who blocked you?
So one of my moderators has blocked one of my Xbox buddies. Yeah, he's probably coming in here spurting abuse because that's what he does.
Yeah.
And he got insta blocked. So
Okay.
I didn't even see the comment in the end.
Yeah, man. So
I'll
if
apologise on your
anybody in
behalf.
here is interested at all, check out Texan.cc. Learn more about
Texan.cc.
that. Yeah, and these folks are actually the folks that I don't know your leanings in terms of this, but they're the folks that consulted with Texit to help make that process as smooth as possible.
Hmm.
So or with Brexit rather, not Texit, with Brexit. So if you guys have any questions about that, just check them out, texitnow.org, and you can also check our website out for the tokenomics and just pretty much any type of information on what this project's going to bring to the table. Very excited about it. Let's see what happens, man.
Yeah, I didn't finish my story because I got interrupted by someone getting banned. So I made that $10 investment, and when they released their governance token, they were worth $14,000 when I received them. So from a £10 investment, I took out 14K from it.
Golly, dude, that felt good.
Oh man, you have no idea. It was like Christmas come early. But I'm labelled as a bit of an airdrop hunter. So I got the Uniswap drop twice. I got the 1 inch drop twice. I got the DYDX drop. I got the recent ones. I got the Hops protocol drop. I got the Optimism token drop. Trying to think of a couple of others. I think there's a couple more in there that were maybe lesser value. That I'm forgetting there, but I've made so much in dollar value from airdrops. It's unreal, and then obviously the Ample Fourth one was an absolute banger. To turn
Yeah,
$10 into 15K is pretty cool.
they say money isn't free, man.
Yeah, apparently there's no such thing as a free lunch, but I beg to differ
Right.
because that
In
paid for my
crypto, there
lunches for ages.
definitely is. Yeah. No, that's the cool thing about it. That's the cool thing about it, man. We're entering a different age, man. Entering a different age, and we don't need these middlemen anymore. We just have code
Yeah.
to make it all work.
So I wanted to give you actually a bit of insight on how I sit kind of politically. So one
Yeah.
thing is this. It's you probably can't see it now because I can't take my face out, but it's a US
Oh,
flag made of guns.
nice.
I like firearms. I like aircraft. I like stuff like that. I'm not too keen on the rule you've got there of everyone has the right to bear arms. I think that there needs to be maybe some limitations on those sort of higher fire rate, high caliber kind of weapons, because it's
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't seem responsible to let the everyday person have an access to a shoulder mounted rocket launcher, for example. But it's a case of where do you draw that line? I do believe that people have the right to protect themselves, but I think some of the weapons that are available are a little bit overkill. I understand the sports element. I totally get that. You can obviously use it in a sporting setting, but I think there should be, it should be those kind of weapons should be very, very limited to people who are essentially, fanatical about everything that comes along with that. Because what happens with those people that are fanatical about firearms is they're also fanatical about the safety of the use of firearms. So that's
Mm-hmm.
where I kind of sit in that regard.
Well,
But like,
here's the neat thing. It's interesting that we get to talk to each other because I'm pretty sure if your media is like anything like our media, they lie to our people. We already have that system set up. We have an extensive list of background checks, and we have many, many, many firearms that actually are banned, specifically automatic firearms.
mhm.
There's a notion out there that the states anything goes, and that's actually not the case.
It's different from state to
Many,
state. They've all got their own
yeah,
different rules and regulations and whatnot, and
yeah.
different
There
restrictions
are
and whatnot.
federal and state background checks that you have to go through before you purchase
But
and
there are
things of that nature.
loopholes. That there are these gun shows where you can turn up and purchase a firearm there without the sort of
No,
same kind of checks.
no.
No.
No, no, no. That's what they make you think, and a lot of people, even in the states, think that. But if I go to a gun show right now, that guy cannot sell me this firearm unless I go through a background check process. Cannot do it. A lot of people don't realize that, but that is the case. Um, and here's the thing, man. This is what frightens me. These types of messages that are like promulgated through society, through different parts of the world, that says anything goes in the United States. It's not the case. We have the Second Amendment to kind of push back against the crazy stuff that happens in the world when you have power concentrated too strongly and for too long
Hmm.
uh, within a bureaucracy. And on a long enough time scale, I don't care what culture it is in history, whatever you want to look at, on a long enough time scale, you will have a king or you have a dictator be very benevolent, right? And he has a kid and it's passed to him. Very benevolent, very good, very good, very good. For 100 years, it's good, but all it takes is the next guy, and he's sour and he's messed up in the head, and things turn weird real quick. There has to be some type of pushback,
Hmm.
and I see that the United States is being attacked right now because I really think we are the final bastion of what that represents. And
Mm.
if we go down, it's going to open the gates for some really really weird stuff, in my opinion. What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. I mean, so my belief on sort of governance, I much prefer the small governance kind of
Yeah.
idea. So, like Texas being independent, for example, for those independent states to be able to set their own rules and their own regulations. One of the reasons why I voted for Brexit was us to be able to create our own laws and not just follow the sheep, the sheep rules that are being made in Europe. I didn't like that. And I didn't like the European system either. It's not a proper democratic system. It's got representation, but it's far from democratic. And I didn't want any part of that. Also, when it comes to, like, they were looking to maybe do a European army, which is obviously a hot topic at the moment with the whole thing that's happening in Ukraine and such. I don't want to be part of a European army. I want the British Army and the RAF and the Navy to be controlled by us. It should be controlled by our government because they're our troops. And like I say, I believe in a smaller system of governance where it's much more governance on a local level. And then what also happens is people then get empowered to get involved in the governance system themselves, because their voice actually has a voice. Because at the moment our voice is just a vote, and then you're given two choices. You can either have someone take a dump on your chest or take a dump on your face. Well, personally, I would rather not anyone take a dump on me. But those are the two choices you get, and it's the same in the States, it's the same in the UK. It's been a very long time since, in my opinion, there's been a really good American candidate. And the same in the UK. I don't think it's been a very long time since we've had someone that I would consider a good candidate to govern the country.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, man. We talk about decentralization in crypto, but decentralization works in every aspect of how this world operates. It works in energy, it works in education, it works in governance, right? And I completely agree too. How are you going to take 100 or 300 or how many? I don't know how many countries you have. Probably like around 200 countries worldwide, 220. You're going to take all those and you're going to smash them together with all these different cultures and beliefs and this and that, and expect all those people to get along. And if you don't get along, what's the options here? If government really wants to make this work, they're going to have to get rid of the people who don't subscribe to what's being dealt out. So that's why it's important to keep national sovereignty on a low level, right? We don't want these huge conglomerates, because that's when really, really bad things happen. But not only really bad things, what is the ideology attached to these people who are trying to push this down everybody's throat in Europe and the States and everywhere else? It's a Marxist ideology. And that's not coming from me. That's coming from reading Marx and Engels from the 1860s and seeing how these narratives they're just changed a little bit. A couple words are changed, and they still drive the wedges in between people, and they try to make people think that your neighbor hates you. Well, it's nothing. It's not a left and right thing. It's an up and down thing. The governments are up there with the strings, So
yeah.
I think we're all on the same page here. I think that governments played their hand way too strong during the COVID thing.
And I think they kind of showed their weaknesses as well to a lot of people.
They did. They thought that they had the upper hand. They thought that people were going to give in, and that's not what happened. Actually, the exact opposite. So now, I mean, what's happening over there right now in the UK with the whole cabinet being dissolved, and your boy Boris, he resigned, right? And why was that?
Well, I think that if you look at sort of what's come to light over the last few months, there were lots of lies and lots of deception.
Double standards.
Yeah, double standards is another. Like that thing with Rishi Sunak, the finance minister. It turns out that his wife has multiple businesses, and none of the tax revenue comes into this country because because she's got what is it, dual citizenship or like non-national status. So she may well be a resident. She's essentially a resident of the UK, but because she's a resident somewhere else, she can then run her tax through in another country. I think it was Russia that she was running her tax through, in fact. And it's like one rule for them, one rule for us, and people don't like that. People don't like that double standard. That really riles people up.
That gap is increasing. It's increasing. The lack of understanding between the political class and the rest of the citizens continue to increase, and they're at the point now where they don't feel like they have accountability.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about Jack. It's fine, Jack. Don't worry about it.
Do they have any questions for me? Just ask away. I love it.
Yeah, guys, if you've got any questions, especially Ace Crypto, because I know he's probably the biggest crypto head in here. What you can do, Ace, is you see us side by side. You'll see Rags to Riches. See his name there. It's got a little plus button. If you press that, you'll follow Rags, and you can keep up to date with his TikToks and his lives and all that good stuff. And any of the guys in here, to click that plus button, click the plus on the next to him, and follow him up. And I'm sure he'll follow back because he's a reasonable guy.
I follow back. I do. I actually do that.
Absolutely. Although I know the narrative is to do not like, do not subscribe. However, we'll make an exception this time.
Yeah, I say that, but I just try to follow everybody I can at this point because it's only fair. It's only fair.
Absolutely, and also you're fairly new to TikTok as well, right?
I'm very new to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
very new. Yeah, TikTok. Yeah, man. It's weird. You could like post 2 or 3 videos that do nothing, and all of a sudden something hits. You got like 100,000 views. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd that come from? Makes no sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think actually, if you could find the time, I think Ace Crypto would love to have a chat with you at some time. He can maybe have a slightly different take on the Texan token.
Yeah, whatever he would like to do, I'd love to chat with him. Just you can reach out to me, Rags to Riches Fam on Twitter or here on TikTok. Just reach out.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so yeah, I think I'm ready to close up. I want my dinner or my tea, depending on where you come from in the UK. So if you're northern, you have tea. If you are southern, you have dinner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a thing apparently.
Well, we call it I guess we call it supper in the
Supper,
South.
yeah,
Supper.
supper's another one. I think supper is that like, I don't know, maybe some milk and biscuits at like just before bedtime. I think that's what is maybe considered more of a supper. Yeah, I think so.
Supper's food. Supper's big for us in the South.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on, man.
No, I appreciate you having me on, dude. I know I know there's a couple of times we've tried to make this work, and I'm glad we managed to get there in the end. But we should get together another time and just chew the rag, man. Because
just let me know, dude. As always, if I've got time, I've got a hole in the schedule, we'll do it, man, for sure. No problem at all.
Absolutely, yeah. Good luck, man. I hope the launch goes well and everything. I'm sure I'll speak to you before, but I think it's a great project. I think for me, what it is you've got a really really good product in the token itself, and then you've also got this narrative as well. And it's kind of like a bit of a double whammy. It's not just a Texan token for the sake of the name. The token itself has its own merit in its own right, irrespective of whatever political statement is being achieved with it.
Yeah, the utility is freedom and sovereignty, and then we've got the narrative, which is directly associated with our partner T&M. So it's great. Glad you see that.
Yeah. I mean that's why when we first started, I wanted to talk about the token first, so people could get an understanding of that before we talk about the narrative that's behind that with the whole Texit thing. So
sure.
Awesome. Cool, I appreciate you, man. You're amazing.
Yeah, dude. Take it easy. Your followers, I hate you all. Have a good night.
Nice one.
All right.
Catch you in a bit. All right, cool. Yeah, that was fun. I really enjoyed that. He's a great guest. He's a really good guy. He's got a really good way of coming across. Go back to work, stay blessed, gents. I'll be in on the next one. Yeah, no worries, Jack. Appreciate you dropping in, dude. Go back to work. Get to work, you slag. I'll tell you what I might do. There we go. I can do that. I can also do this. Okay, cool. No worries. I am opening up boxes if anyone wants to jump in the box for a chat. But yeah, no, I love the guy. I think he's great. I think he's a real amazing dude. And he always makes the time for me. He helped me get started on social media, so I sort of reached out to him, said I'm thinking about planning on doing this, and he gave me a whole bunch of resources. And yeah, fair enough. He gave me a whole load of resources and loads of things to have a look at. Some ideas of what I could do for some content and stuff like that. And he's really helped me along the way. I've got a lot of love for the guy. Well, look, I'm gonna call it there because I need to eat pizza. I'm fucking starving. I will be floating about later if anyone's on live. Yeah, no, because I knew you'd really appreciate the sort of the tokenomics of it, because I know tokenomics is kind of your thing. Excuse me. So you'd enjoy that. But yeah, I'm going to call it there, guys. Cheers for coming in. I appreciate you guys. Love you so much. See you in a bit. Yeah, we'll do a live soon, man. We'll do a live soon. We'll chat. We'll send some messages and we'll set a time. I'll catch you in a bit.